Why do you procrastinate, even when you know exactly what you should be doing? You know the task is important, you know delaying it will make things worse, and yet somehow you still avoid it. You open your phone, check messages, watch one video, reorganize your desk, or convince yourself that you'll start later. Most people think procrastination is laziness, but science suggests something deeper is happening. Procrastination is not simply a failure of discipline. It is a conflict between emotion, reward, stress, and executive control inside your brain. Let's break down what is really happening. At the center of procrastination is the battle between two brain systems. One is the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for planning, self-control, decision-making, and long-term thinking. The other is the limbic system, which responds to emotion, discomfort, fear, and immediate reward. When you look at a difficult task, your prefrontal cortex understands the future benefit. It knows you should start now because finishing the task will help you later. But your limbic system reacts to how the task feels right now. If the task feels boring, stressful, uncertain, or overwhelming, your brain interprets it as emotional discomfort. And your brain is designed to avoid discomfort. This is where procrastination begins. You are not avoiding the task itself. You are avoiding the uncomfortable feeling attached to the task. The task becomes linked with anxiety, pressure, boredom, or fear of failure, and your brain tries to escape that feeling as quickly as possible. This is why procrastination often feels relieving at first. When you delay the task and do something easier, your stress temporarily drops. Your brain learns that avoidance creates relief. That relief becomes a reward, and the behavior becomes more likely to happen again. This is called negative reinforcement. You remove an unpleasant feeling, and your brain remembers that avoidance worked. The problem is that the relief is short-term, but the cost is long-term. The task remains, the deadline gets closer, and the stress becomes stronger. Now let's talk about dopamine. Many people think dopamine is just the pleasure chemical, but that is too simple. Dopamine is deeply involved in motivation, reward prediction, and action selection. It helps your brain decide what is worth doing. When a task feels clear, rewarding, and achievable, dopamine supports action. But when a task feels vague, difficult, or unlikely to produce immediate reward, your brain predicts low reward and high effort. That makes the task feel unattractive. Now compare that to your phone. Social media, short videos, notifications, and quick messages provide immediate feedback. They give your brain rapid novelty, low effort, and quick reward. So when your brain has to choose between a difficult task and an easy dopamine reward, the easy reward often wins. This does not mean you are weak. It means your brain is making a reward-based decision. It is choosing the option that feels better right now. This is also connected to a psychological concept called temporal discounting. Temporal discounting means your brain values immediate rewards more strongly than future rewards. A small reward now can feel more powerful than a larger reward later. So even if finishing your work tomorrow would make your life better, your brain may still choose the immediate comfort of avoiding it today. This is why procrastination is so irrational. You know the future matters, but your brain is biased toward the present. Now let's add stress. When a task feels threatening, your body can activate a stress response. Cortisol and adrenaline increase alertness, but they can also make you feel tense, restless, or overwhelmed. If the stress is moderate, it may help you perform. But if it becomes too high, your thinking becomes less flexible. The prefrontal cortex does not work well under excessive stress. When stress rises, the brain shifts toward more automatic, emotional, and habit-based behavior. In other words, the part of your brain that helps you plan and regulate yourself becomes weaker at the exact moment you need it most. This is why you can know what to do and still not do it. Your rational brain may understand the plan, but your emotional brain is trying to escape discomfort. The result is avoidance. Now let's talk about perfectionism, because this is one of the most common hidden causes of procrastination. Many people delay tasks, not because they don't care, but because they care too much. If the task feels important, the pressure to do it well becomes intense. The brain starts to imagine failure, criticism, embarrassment, or disappointment. So instead of starting imperfectly, you delay. Not starting becomes emotionally safer than starting and risking failure. This creates a strange loop. You want the result to be good, so you wait until you feel ready. But the longer you wait, the more pressure builds. The more pressure builds, the harder it becomes to start. Perfectionism turns the beginning of a task into a threat. Another key factor is uncertainty. Your brain dislikes unclear tasks. If you don't know exactly where to begin, how long it will take, or what the final result should look like, your brain sees the task as cognitively expensive. This increases cognitive load. Cognitive load is the amount of mental effort required to process information. When a task feels too complex, your working memory becomes overloaded and avoidance becomes tempting. This is why vague tasks are dangerous. Work on the project feels heavy. Open the document and write 3 bullet points feels manageable. Your brain does better with specific actions than abstract goals. Now let's connect this to habit formation. Every time you avoid a task and choose a distraction, you reinforce a loop. The loop looks like this: difficult task, uncomfortable feeling, distraction, temporary relief. Repeat this enough times, and procrastination becomes automatic. The brain loves patterns. Once a behavior is repeated, it becomes easier to trigger again. This is why procrastination can become a habit, not just a decision. And modern life makes this worse. Your environment is full of frictionless distractions. Your phone is always nearby. Apps are designed to capture attention. Notifications interrupt your focus. Short-form content trains your brain to expect constant novelty. So when you face a slow, difficult task, it feels even harder than it should. Your brain has been conditioned to expect fast rewards. This is why procrastination today is not just a personal problem. It is also an environmental problem. You're trying to do deep work in a world built for distraction. Now here's the important part. Procrastination is not solved by simply telling yourself to try harder. If procrastination is emotional regulation, reward prediction, stress response, and habit loop combined, then the solution must target those systems. First, reduce emotional resistance. Instead of asking, "How do I finish this entire task?" ask, "What is the smallest possible next step?" The goal is not to complete everything immediately. The goal is to make starting feel safe. This works because starting reduces uncertainty. Once you begin, the task becomes less abstract. Your brain gets feedback. The fear becomes smaller. Second, lower the activation energy. Activation energy is the effort required to begin. If your task requires too many decisions before you start, your brain will resist. So, prepare the environment. Open the document. Remove your phone. Set a timer. Make the first step obvious. Third, use short, focused sessions. Your brain does not need a perfect 4-hour block. It needs a clear starting point. 10 minutes of focused work is often enough to break avoidance. Once you start, momentum becomes easier. Fourth, change the reward structure. Because procrastination is influenced by reward, give your brain immediate feedback. After completing a small step, mark progress. Cross something off. Take a short break. Let your brain feel that action creates reward, not just avoidance. Fifth, Reduce distractions before the task begins. Do not rely on willpower after the distraction appears. If your phone is next to you, your brain will keep calculating whether to check it. That calculation itself drains attention. Put the phone away before you start. Sixth, separate identity from performance. If every task feels like a test of your intelligence, worth, or ability, your brain will treat it as a threat. Remind yourself that starting badly is allowed. A rough first version is not failure. It is the doorway into progress. Now think about what procrastination really is. It is not simply wasting time. It is your brain trying to protect you from discomfort, uncertainty, stress, or possible failure. But the protection creates a bigger problem later. So the goal is not to hate yourself into action. The goal is to understand the mechanism and redesign the environment. Because once you reduce the emotional threat, lower the effort to start, and remove easy distractions, your brain has less reason to avoid. Procrastination is not proof that you are lazy. It is evidence that your brain is responding to discomfort in a predictable way. And if the pattern was learned, it can be changed. If you found this helpful, subscribe to Nexplain